All right, well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. I want to thank you all for tuning in this Friday to Lions Talk Live morning show edition. And you know what? I'm sure most of you woke up today. I don't know, maybe some of you saw the news last night. I tried to get it out as fast as possible. Frank the Tank Ragnow coming out telling Dave Burkett and among other people in the Detroit sports media platforms that, hey, he's not going to retire. He did need a week or two to just kind of get himself right and regain his thoughts and such. But you know what? He said, "Yeah, I've got a lot of gas left in this tank." So, just real quick recap on that. He'd said a couple other real tidbits, saying he doesn't foresee himself retiring in the near future. Now, could that be 2-3 years from now? Who knows? We'll leave that to debate in another time. But it is just another layer in the offseason. And it's hard to believe we're not even to the Super Bowl. We're not even 2 complete weeks away from the NFC championship game defeat that we suffered. But you know what? There's just more and more good news that seems to all point one particular direction. A lot of people want the Detroit Lions to be successful. The players, the coaches, people want to come on board. And I got to imagine, well, let me ask you guys, how much do you think that is resonating with free agents? Not just our own, but one's looking around for a new home. Maybe a veteran who's got, maybe 1 or 2 good years left in him says, hey, I want a chance to compete for a Super Bowl and have the right culture, grit, fit, whatever. I got to imagine the Detroit Lions are going to be a premium destination for a lot of different people who are hitting the free agent market. And in today's show, that's one thing we're going to talk about is just kind of ranking the top Lions free agents. Who are the must re-signs? Who can't we afford to re-sign? Things like that. Before we get into the show, though, you guys all know the drill. There's a couple things I got to do. One, if you're new to Lions Talk Live, please consider subscribing. We're making a push to get to 5,800, about 20 subs away, at least in that vicinity. Also, if you enjoy the content, don't be afraid to hit that thumbs up button. Last but not least, if you're looking to buy or sell property in the great state of Michigan, anywhere in the state, give me a call or shoot me a text. It can be commercial property, vacant land, whatever it may be, a new house, a beach house. Maybe you're looking to build a house. Whatever it is, give me a call and let's see what I can do to help you out. Help you save some money on all the things that go into this, and also try to make sure you get as much inside information as possible. Let me use my 30 plus years in the industry to your behest. 269-998-2384. All right, with all that out of the way, let's go and pull up the list I have of Lions free agents. And there's not going to be any right way, wrong way, or whatever to rank them. But it just, who do you guys think are probably the top free agents? My humble opinion, Jonah Jackson's going to be the number one guy on just about everybody's board. And whether or not we can keep him, that's going to be a real question mark, especially now that Frank Ragnow is going to be retaining with the team. He's going to be sticking around. Reese Maben, a couple of the other guys. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what you guys think about that. So let's head over to the comments section, see what you guys think are the top Lions free agents out there. And kicking us off is Jason Ragnow. Yes, all exclamation points. And I got to imagine everybody in Lions fandom is got to be just jumping up and down, happy as all can be that this guy is going to stick around and maybe not just next year, maybe for a couple of years. Hookadoo, good morning, Coach and Do Crew. Back at you. Let's have a great morning. Robert greetings and salutations all. Same to you, Robert. JDC, good morning all. Good morning to you too. Moonscar, good morning, Dan and Do Crew. Woo! First woo of the show. Robert, Dan, what can the Lions do to improve their ability to play better at outdoor venues? That's a fair question, Robert. I think since we're such a strong running game, we travel pretty well. The defense, hey, we're big up front. That top 7 is pretty good against the run. I think those factors alone help. What can we do to get better? Boy, I'm just not sure offhand. I mean, you think about last year, other than really the Chicago Bears game outdoors, I thought we did pretty well. The Bears game in the second half, or at least the third quarter, I really thought it got away from us. But the rest of the year, I don't think we did noticeably anything egregiously different than we did indoors. The year before that, I actually thought when it was the coldest outside, so we'll just say November and December, the team did fairly well. They won at the Jets, they won at the Giants. Um, the offense played okay down in Carolina. The defense, not so much. I think we all get that one. But other than that, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I mean, because of the running game travels so well and the run defense travels well, I think we're about as good as we can be, other than just being better overall as a team. All right, Burrs. Good morning, Dan, the man, and the Duke crew. Same to you, buddy. Hopefully, you're having a great one. Jason, have the best record and play at home throughout the playoffs. That's out. Yes, that would be a big factor in making sure that your road to the Super Bowl goes through Detroit. And yes, that would make sure that we had to get to play at home in the postseason, not on the road. Jerome, hey, coach, what does it mean to franchise a player in the NFL? And is that because of a player's agent or the player? So the team, great question, Jerome. The team would say, hey, we're not going to give or we can't work out. How about maybe that's a better way to put it? A long-term deal between party A and party B. So the player and the team. Because of that, we're going to use the franchise tag on this particular player because we don't want him to leave. What that means is that player is now going to get paid the average. I believe it's the top 10 players at that particular position in the NFL. So they're probably going to get a pay raise since that's going to be by that year's standards for that particular position and player. And you can do that up to 2 years in a row to re-sign somebody. Kirk Cousins, he was with the Washington Commanders, Redskins at the time. That's what they did since they couldn't work out a deal with Cousins. They slapped the franchise tag on him 2 straight years. He got a huge boost in pay for those 2 years. But at the end of the day, since both sides couldn't work out an agreement to keep him around, he was then a totally unrestricted free agent. So it is possible the Lions could do that to a player, but obviously that player is going to get a bit of a pay boost at that moment. Bergs, Frank the Tank returns. Woo! Yeah, I wasn't sure if I should go on the air with that last night or just save it for this morning, but I was like, you know what? Hey, there's probably a lot of people sitting around getting ready to go to bed or whatever. Let's get this out there to them as quick as possible. Just good news all around for the franchise, for the team. And I'll say this, Frank Ragnow, the fact that he didn't really take a month or something to decide shows, man, how quickly he's probably healed up, how much better his body's feeling in just a short amount of time. And I think you can see evidence if you go back to read Alex Anzalone's piece, his PR piece about, hey, playing Detroit, going through the pain of losing that game, having his son ask him about, hey, are you going to be in the Super Bowl? All those things. You could see how impactful this late in the year, the bumps, the bruises, the grind is all on the players. I mean, Anzalone noted it. You've heard other players talk about it. And the fact that 2 weeks later, Frank Ragnow is saying, you know what? I was so beat up then after that NFC championship game, but now already 2 weeks later, hey, I'm so much more healthy now in just that short amount of time. I'm going to be fine to return. I'm going to be able to play. But he did also point out he understands that at this point in his career, he's got to start doing some things smarter, not harder, to try to preserve his body throughout the season, especially as he alluded to, if they want to make a real run at the Super Bowl. And that's something we can all bemoan what happened in the NFC title game. I get it. We lost. It stinks. It sucks. We'd all rather be playing this weekend than not. But as far as an experience and looking at the bright side of things, this team and the players, the coaches are going to have a little bit more idea on what to do to really keep everybody as healthy as possible, focused and sharp as they can, and get to that the next level. Really, the only level left is the Super Bowl for this franchise. All right, Michael, greetings and salutations, Coach and Duke crew. One pride, 100%. Hopefully having a good morning. AJ, what do you got? Good morning, crew. Coach, do you ever sleep? Not a whole lot. I get a couple hours a night, and that's about it. The rest of the time, I probably waking up and trying to think of stuff for work or coaching or for the channel. All right, Boo, good morning, Duke crew. Great news on Ragnow, exclamation point. A lot of rumors and speculation going on. Nice to have something solid. 100%. And you think about how this helps Brad Holmes and the coaching staff start planning for free agency, what they want to do. They can also probably start ruling out some guys. I know the purpose of this show is to kind of talk about, basically the pending free agents. And I'll say this, man, I'm just not sure if we're going to be able to re-sign Jonah Jackson. Maybe they can pull it off. Maybe they are going to say, the team is going to say, hey, with Ragnow back, Decker, we know Panay is going to get paid. Can we invest in a fourth offensive lineman? And you guys let me know your thoughts. Is Jonah Jackson going to be the guard here next year? Is going to be the left guard, I guess I should say, next year? Or are you okay with moving on and drafting? I know we've talked about the Oregon center/guard, bringing him in. He's probably going to be a starter day one. Obviously going to be a little bit price difference between re-signing Jonah Jackson and bringing in the Oregon Jackson. But you still need one more guard at that point. Do you re-sign Glasgow? Glasgow's talking about, at least it sounds like he's going to get somewhere around the neighborhood of 10 to 11, maybe 12 mil a year. So I guess that's going to be the great debate for the next 35 days or whatever it is until free agency. How do you keep the offensive line strong while not putting too many resources in that position? The rest of the stuff, re-signed some of the other guys, I could see it being here or there, not real taxing on the cap, but at the same time, cumulative effect, the more guys you re-sign at higher prices, the less cheddar you have to go around to other or new players. So let me know what you guys think. Do you re-sign Jonah Jackson? Jason, the Super Bowl is played in New Orleans next year. Superdome or bust. That is, you are spot on with that. And yeah, we need to get those t-shirts printed up or something, because I think you just got something to sell. All right, Jesse, greetings and salutations all. The Ragnow news last night was great! ! I do sadly feel that means Jonah Jackson will be gone. Yeah, and at least my initial thoughts this morning is that you're probably right, Jess. I'd love to keep the guy. He'd love to keep every player, obviously, especially as tight-knit as this group is. But can you afford to do so? To me, that's the real question. All right, Jerome, hey, Coach, can NFL players and coaches talk strategy with players and coaches during the offseason? Yeah, they can talk about offense, defense, any of that kind of stuff. Yeah, there's no restrictions there. Restrictions on going through player personnel development, workouts, things of that sort. That's what's in place. But as far as if you want to talk about X's and O's or whatever have you, yeah, you're fine to do that. All right, Eduardo, good morning, people. First Lions Talk Live in a while. I have realized the loss will sting until next season. Oh, well, yep, time to move on, time to get focused on next season. The players right now, I get some of them are out in Vegas, taking in the Super Bowl and stuff. I know MCDC, I thought he had a heck of a point. He wants the players to watch. He came out and said, hey, I need you all. I get you don't want to, some of you guys don't want to watch the game. I need you to watch the game. He's going to be watching the game. He wants that to burn in each and every one of them, like it's going to be burning himself, he said, watching that game knowing, man, we beat the Chiefs. We should have beat the 49ers. We can play with anybody in this league. There's nobody that intimidates us. Let it really just burn in your heart and soul. So next year, you got that much more motivation to go out there and get things done. I like his approach on that, by the way. Moonscar, top free agent re-signs. Glasgow, number one. Reese Maven, Jackson would be great, but cash. Yeah, Reynolds, a.k.a. Goff, security blanket. And I think, Moonscar, you got a pretty good list there. Reynolds, I get he takes flack for the 2 drop passes in the NFC Championship game. But being that as it may, the rest of the season, the guy's money. Think about just the Rams playoff game. That first quarter, guy was on fire. He had a jet on his back, and everything thrown his way was just brought in. And he was, for the most part, throughout the season, or his time here in Detroit, maybe I should say, he's been great. I do believe they're probably going to work something out to bring him back. Reese Maben, I don't see how you couldn't bring him back. He is so good on special teams. He gives you a little bit more flexibility in the defense. He's not going to be, cost prohibitive by any means. At least I would assume not. So yeah, having him back would be another big plus. The other aspect with him, I think he's got some real leadership ability. Reese Maben, I'm talking about here. I think a lot of the team and the players, let alone the coaches, respect the heck out of this guy. So bring him back. After that, I mean, I know you're going to have to work out something with James Houston because he's kind of a restricted free agent. But and that's because when he was a rookie, he got cut. That way, it voided his rookie contract deal. They did bring him back on a re-sign deal, but yeah, they're going to have to bring him back. I think you're going to bring him back, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the coaching staff just doesn't see enough out of him. But I'm anticipating James Houston will also be resigned. Eduardo, really hope that Brad targets Bryce Huff from the Jets. He wins. He wins his one-on-ones. Is young and won't be expensive. There, and then we can draft Jackson Powers Johnson. He can be an All-Pro year one. Yeah, I think Jackson Johnson Powers, if he's available at pick 29, and the Lions haven't done some sort of trade, he's a real target. Because let's assume, by at least some speculation, that Jonah Jackson is not brought back in. Well, JPJ would come on in and probably be one of your starting guards from week one. Now, can he get Scoresdale or somebody else to fill the other guard spot? I guess we'll have to debate that this offseason. Maybe you do bring back Graham Glasgow, which I'd have no problem with. He's kind of a Swiss Army knife. He can play tackle, guard, or center. His price tag's not going to be the cheapest to bring back, but it's not horrible by any means by today's standards. So yeah, I think you're onto something there, Eduardo. Clark Griswold. Good morning, everyone. I think we still need to address the offensive line in the draft. It is aging a bit. It is, and you've got potentially 2 or 3 guys that are probably the next few years will be in need of replacing or reshuffling across the offensive line. So yeah, I think most of us are going to be targeting some form of drafted player to come on in, whether it's going to be the first round, second round, third round. We'll have to wait and see. I know a lot of early mock drafts are probably going to have the Lions taking an offensive lineman in the first round. But as we all probably are definitely aware at this point in Brad Holmes' tenure, everything we think we know and can project is usually probably wrong. So we have to take all that with a grain of salt. All right, Michael, I would resign Glasgow, Reynolds, and Maven. Yes, I think those are going to be 3 huge targets for the Detroit Lions on free agency. I've also mentioned James Houston. There's going to be some other players for sure to consider, but who do we ultimately go with? That I don't know. We are currently, just so you guys know, we're at $58.6 million in cap space, which is 6th according to Over the Cap. So according to their metrics, and I haven't done it myself, I'm trusting that they have. We're going to have a lot of good opportunities to either re-sign our own guys or potentially bring in a couple of new guys as well. But Gardner Johnson, I know some of the players are stepping up more and more, talking about CJ, saying, hey, we'd really like to have this guy back. So I think because of that, there's going to be more and more conversations about it. We'll see what the team does, but I do think there's a growing opportunity for CJ Gardner Johnson to come back just because his secondary teammates and defensive players all seem to really galvanize around the guy. Vaitai, I think that ship has sailed. He's just, we've talked about it before on the show, and you're going to hear it everywhere else if you haven't heard it already. Your best ability is availability, and his entire time in Detroit, Vaitai just hasn't been available. Charles Harris, I really just don't see him coming back. His first year in Detroit, he had some pretty good stats. He had whatever it was, I think 5.5 sacks. The amount of time he played that year, pretty decent. Since then, not so great. Romeo Okwara, I think there's some opportunity there, but he's probably going to have to take a significant pay cut in order to return. Same with his brother, Julian. Very athletic, just never really could get stuff done on a consistent basis, at least. Reese Maben, we've kind of already talked about. I think we're all in agreement. He's probably coming back. Donovan Peoples-Jones. Let me know your guys' thoughts, but I'm guessing they're going to probably try to re-sign him. Dan Skipper, I know I talked about it yesterday in the show. I just think he's cost-effective. He fits a number of roles, so I do believe Skip will probably be a Detroit Lion again. Anthony Fisker, maybe not. Probably looking to upgrade that spot. Kendall Vildor, I will say this, even though for everybody in Detroit Lions history will forever remember the bounce off the face mask in the NFC Championship game. But other than that, he wasn't terrible. If you can just continue to develop him, and again, if he's cost efficient, probably okay. This is the one that I'm gonna guess. Kurt Steele, if you're watching this, you're probably cheering against re-signing Will Harris. I think most of us don't understand why Will Harris has been around so long. I'm thinking this may have been his last year. And then Emmanuel Mosley, we've talked about on the show for about a week now. I do believe if we can resign him on a team-friendly contract, they're probably going to take a shot at him. Matt Nelson would be another one that I think there's a real opportunity for him to return just because familiarity provides some depth. I would make sure, though, if you resign Matt Nelson, nothing is guaranteed in that contract. Trying to think if there's anybody else. Bridgewater, y'all know he retired. Michael Badgley, probably resigning him, but just on a team-friendly deal just for competition as well. So that's basically my list of free agents that aren't restricted like Houston. Let me know your guys' thoughts. All right, Robert, good morning. Dan and Cruz, same to you. Hopefully having a great one, Robert. Stephanie, greetings and salutations. Free agency will come down to Brad Holmes finding value. If he can't find good value, that guy isn't going to pull the trigger. Yeah, I would say there's a lot of truth to that with Dollar General Brad Holmes. I mean, he is what he is. He is cost effective. He's a great person at running a franchise because he's not going to overspend, not overburden. The only thing I would say is, to me, if he breaks that norm and he goes out and signs some big name free agent, like a Donnell Hunter or, Josh Allen or something like that, that's probably a strong indication to, at least in my eyes, that Brad Holmes is identifying this next 1 or 2 years. This is our window of opportunity to really go after it, and he's pushing all of his chips in the middle of the table. Eduardo, so they could pick up the 5th-year option starting yesterday. Why didn't they pick up Sewell's yet? That's a good question. Maybe it's indication they're trying to work out a long-term deal between both parties, and they don't want to go ahead and use the option yet. They could still do it, though, obviously, but maybe they're in the negotiating standpoint or part of working out a long-term deal with him and his representation. Brent, Frank the Tank is coming back, exclamation point. Woo! There you go, buddy. Hopefully you're doing well, still enjoying that pseudo vacation and moving forward. Eduardo, Frank is back. They can just hand us the Lombardi now. 1 seed, here we go. Yeah, and there's going to be a big push, I think, in Detroit this year to secure the number 1 seed. So that would be another indication, to your point, Eduardo, what happens in the offseason, in free agency. How aggressive are we going to be? What are we targeting? How much money is Holmes willing to spend? Because I think you're spot on. With Frank the Tank back, among other players, the real push this offseason into the season is what can we do to get this team ready to really make a run at the number 1 seed in the playoffs. All right, Jess, what do you got? Eduardo O'Neill, I'm guessing they will pretty soon. That guy isn't going to be allowed to leave. Yeah, they're not going to let Penei Sewell leave, and I don't think Penei Sewell has any intent or interest in leaving as long as he gets a contract worthy of his stature. All right, Jerome, what do you got? Hey, Coach, is there a rule against coaches in the NFL talking to potential family members of potential players entering the draft? Yeah, you're restricted on what you can do. I mean, you can interview players. You can do your due diligence and talk to players, friends, or whatever, sort of like, I guess, the military when people get interviewed to see if they can qualify for certain security clearances. NFL is really no different in that regard. They're going to do all their work if they're really interested in a player. So there's certain time frames that you're allowed to do it in and not other times. Now, with that being said, if you just happen to be at the airport and bump into somebody's family member, you are allowed certain things. I mean, you don't have to say, hey, stay away, I can't talk to you. But, there's rules pertaining to all that. Eduardo, would you as a coach have the goal be, 1, just get into the dance, or 2, get into the dance with the highest seed possible? I would say basically number 1 for me would be, hey, we're targeting getting into the postseason. And from there, once we qualify, we want to get the highest seed possible. We talk throughout the season about, hey, our goal or objective is the number 1 seed, whatever you want to call it in different sports. But that's our goal. And a part of that goal is just simply, obviously, to make the postseason. All right, Sosimo at Brett. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, hope everybody gives Brett a big well-to-do, and hopefully he's having a great day and enjoying the show. Robert G, as versatile as Gibbs is, I feel he is a must-sign. Just my opinion. As versatile as Glass is, excuse me. Glasgow, yeah, he's like I said earlier in the show. He's a Swiss Army knife. He does it all. He can fill in multiple roles, and I know that's really what this front office and team wants. They want guys who can do different things. I said it last year. I said it, I believe, yesterday too. I think Malcolm Rodriguez's value to this team is incredibly high from the standpoint you look at his contract deal and look at all the different aspects of the game he affects. He's special teams. He's offense now to a limited degree with fullback, maybe you could say tight end. And then obviously he's a linebacker for defense. So you're getting that much coverage out of one person, huge value. And to your point, Robert, same with Glasgow. I mean, he's all over that offensive line. Eduardo, I have changed my mind. If San Francisco wins, I want the league to send us to them week 1. I want no excuses of someone being hurt for when we beat them. Yeah, and I think there's a real opportunity for the Lions to go out there first week of the season. We'll see what happens because obviously that's going to be another month or two until they release the full schedule, about 2 months, I guess. But anyways, there's real possibility we could be the opening week game. All right, Doug Green's salutations. Great news last night on Rags. Yes, it was, and I think it took just another layer of the sting off of what happened a couple weeks ago with the title game loss. You got some new coaches being signed. You got Rags coming back. You know, hey, we're doing pretty well so far this offseason. Eduardo, Robert G, I think I would prefer resigning Jonah, letting Graham go, and drafting Jackson Powers Johnson. He's a center guard who can do what Graham does cheaper. Yes, and that's a fair point, Eduardo. If you're gonna put, for your example, let's say for Glasgow, we're gonna put 10 to 12 million into him. I'm not exactly sure what Jonah Jackson's price tag is. I'm going to guess somewhere around 18 to 20. So, I mean, it is a bigger part of your cap, but in your scenario there, you're going to be a little bit younger. You're going to spend a little bit more, but if you could somehow get them down to 15 million a year, maybe 16, Jonah Jackson, that is that $4 to $5 million worth keeping him versus Glasgow? That's why I'll let you guys debate. I'm not saying one thing or another. But you do bring up a very interesting point on that. Michael, today is my birthday. My birthday wish for the last 60 years has been the same, a Lions Super Bowl. Well, let's hope today, Michael, happy birthday, by the way, is the first step in hitting that goal for you for next year. So happy birthday and hope you have a great day, man. Eduardo, happy birthday, Super Bowl or bust. That's right, Super Dome or bust for the Detroit Lions next year. And yes, Jason, I'm stealing that. Boo Booth, happy birthday, Michael. 100%. Everybody will wish him a happy birthday. Eduardo, I am team sign a veteran stud corner. Rookie corners usually take 2 to 3 years to develop. We can't wait that long. And I know we've been chatting about that for a little bit. I know Emmanuel Mosley's been brought up a lot in the last week. Hey, if he's going to be healthy, re-sign him, yada, yada. Here's a thought for you guys. Darius Slay. If you could bring him back, would you bring him back? I mean, he's not quite the same player he was, but he's still playing at a high level. Imagine him being out there. Could he be the number one? I guess that's my real question to you guys. Does he still have that kind of gas left in the tank? And I haven't watched him enough in the past year to be able to have an opinion one way or the other. So I'd be relying on your guys' wisdom on that. All right, JDC, Michael Dover, happy birthday. Yes, happy birthday to him. Garland, GM, good morning, all. Okay, I'm finally over losing the NFC Championship. Well, I'm glad you're over it, and welcome back. Hopefully you're ready for a good off season, lots of good news, and get us into next year. Detroit D, bring back C.J. Gardner-Johnson at the right price. Yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier. It does seem like a lot of the teammates want him back. So if the coaching staff is okay with it, I'd say, yeah, there's a strong possibility he could be. Detroit D, greens, salutations, everyone. Same to you. Hopefully you have a great morning, man. All right, Angie, happy birthday, Michael. Agreed. Eduardo, Garland, I don't think I'll ever be. it's going to sting with us all forever because we're all going to remember how close we were. The only thing I'm going to say, in my opinion, that will take it away is next year we get to the Super Bowl, we're going to look back at that NFC title game loss and say, that's the reason why we're here now. That molded us into the team we are now. It gave us all the fuel to make that next little push. I mean, look at the 49ers. Yes, they were there, whatever it was, 2020, and then lost. But they've been on the doorstep for years now, and they finally got back again. So it could be our turn next year. All right, Quentin agrees. Salutations all. Same to you. Hopefully you have a good morning. Michael, thanks for the birthday wishes. This is the year my wish will come true! Exclamation points. Go Lions. And I agree. This is going to be the year. Eduardo, Troy D, I love me some humble, quiet guys like Branch, but every team needs a loud mouth. And without CJ, all we have is a bunch of quiet guys on the D. Yeah, there is a level of truth to that. Brent, sorry, folks. Forgot to say greetings and salutations, Coach and Duke crew. Thanks for all the well wishes. Doing better every day, but might be watching the Super Bowl in the hospital. Well, hopefully they have some good snacks for you for the Super Bowl at the least. So, I get you're wanting to be out of there, man, but just take your time, be right, get right. And you know what? Probably worst things in life to be able to lay back and watch the Super Bowl with people waiting on you, right? So get better, my friend. Bergs, what's that, Jess? Why is that, Jess? I guess I'll have to wait and see what that was, but I'll let you guys figure it out. Angie, get well, Brent, 100%. Boo-boo, Brent, at least you are here to watch it. This is also true. Bergs, happy birthday, Michael. There you go. Dennis, good morning. Good morning to you too. Eduardo, should we pay Amara before Chase gets his extension? Amara St. Brown. Yeah, I mean, the sooner you resign him, probably the better team deal it's going to be because, to your point, Eduardo, every day you wait on Amara St. Brown, somebody else is going to get signed. It's going to push that price tag up. So I get your point there. Angie, I'm so excited about 2024. San Francisco loss still stings. Yeah, it's going to sting for a while. And like I said a few minutes ago, the only way to get rid of that is to get to the Super Bowl next year and win it. Moonscar should help keep some free agents coming our way versus the past. Yeah, I think Detroit's become a destination for free agents, and not just for the coaches, but I think a lot of it for the way this team is constructed. And then obviously you're going to look at it and say, well, they've got an opportunity to get to the Super Bowl. They're real close. That's going to be a contributing factor for sure. Jerome, hey, Coach, I'm not watching the Super Bowl, but can NFL players and coaches place bets if their team is not playing it? Yeah, the answer is no. They're not allowed to bet on the NFL. They can bet on college games or non-football games, but they cannot bet on NFL games. And nor would I encourage them to, because that could be used against you in a lot of ways. All right, 9 drinks. Who is this Moody guy? See, he's a dog. I'm thinking you're talking about Jake Moody, and hey, he's done okay. He's missed some kicks though in the last month or so of the regular season, so we'll see how he does in the Super Bowl. Brent, happy birthday, Michael. Agreed. Happy birthday, Eduardo. I really think free agents will want to come here, but Brad said not every person can be a Lion. This is also true. That being said, I think we can have the league max of 6 point games next season. Okay, we'll have the league, a lot of close games. Network wants us. Yeah, I would say the Lions, you look at last year, especially the ratings in the playoffs, just off the charts. I think you're spot on, Eduardo. I think you're going to see a lot of different networks pushing to get the Lions on their screens. They're going to want them on their streaming services or whatever, their platforms, because they know that's going to bring in people, subscribers or whatever, and then obviously ratings. Southwest, glad Frank is coming back. I still think they need to draft O-line. I agree with you, Southwest. I know we've been talking about it all morning. I'm pretty sure they're going to still do it. Moonscar, good point, Eduardo. Yes. Eduardo, at Southwest, we need a corner. We need to draft a center who Frank can mentor. Yeah, and I know Jackson Powers is one of the ones everybody's talking about. Brother Ken, I'm still concerned about Brad inferring that we have to be fiscally responsible regarding free agency. Dan, that troubles me. If we need an edge rusher. Yeah, and you and I read those comments of his exactly alike. To me, that reeks of, man, we're not really doing a whole lot in free agency. Maybe re-signing some of our own guys, maybe picking up some mid-tier guys. But yeah, at least the way I interpret it, we're not spending a bunch of money on one or two players. That is, we'll see if I'm right or if you're right, whoever's right. Moonscar, sign Donovan Peoples-Jones later if possible. Yeah, let the market dry up a little bit. Fair enough. Robert G, I think the phone will ring off the hook with free agents wanting to board the train. I think so. It's just obviously going to come down to, like we're just talking about, what Brother Ken said about Brad Holmes saying, hey, we're not breaking the bank this year. So I just don't see him getting real wild with the paychecks. Maybe I'm wrong. So is that still you? Seems to be encouraging news each day for Lions, starting with BJ. Yeah, 100%. Ever since Ben Johnson said, I'm coming back, you have Aaron Glenn, probably, he's coming back because he unfortunately didn't get the opportunity he wanted, but he's back. You've got some new positional coaches signed. You got Frank the Tank, coming back. So to your point, is that still you? You're 1,000% correct. Every day we seem to be getting some sort of news that, man, making us feel pretty good. Silver Surfer, coach, let's say the Lions give Goff $25 million a year and that Sheila gives him $15 million per year in Ford commercials, not to impact the cap. Can they do that? Or NFL says no? And good morning. Yeah, well, Silver Surfer, I love the way you're thinking outside the box. I would say this, the NFL would probably be looking into that a little bit. The hard part's going to be is, let's say the Fords own other companies, which they do, and those companies sign Goff or other players to contracts. That's where I think you really run into a no-fly zone for the NFL is that, hey, if Mountain Dew wants to give Goff $25 million a year to be a spokesperson for him, the NFL has no purview over that. Now, Pepsi-Cola is not owned outright by the Ford family, but I'm sure they have some interests in it. Tom Brady took lesser paid days all the time because, one, he wanted to win, and two, because he was making so much money from other endorsements, it didn't really matter to him. So in your scenario, could the Fords arrange, I probably would say is the best way to word it, where Goff's getting some endorsement money from other sources other than the Fords? They could probably do that. So and how you would do that, if it was me, I'll just use Mountain Dew as an example again. Pepsi-Cola, hey, we want you to go ahead and offer our guy whatever, $10 million a year to do endorsements, whatever. In return, we will now invest in your product, 10, 12 million or whatever that benefits your company. So basically you scratch our back, we'll scratch yours. I guess I could have just said that, but it's some gray areas there, Surfer, but I think it probably happens more than most of us realize. It's just, you got to get somebody to really connect all the dots and follow everything. And then the other part of it is, how involved does the NFL want to get into it? Because you're opening up a can of worms for any player who signs an endorsement deal. Then what kind of connections does that company or product have to this company or product, to that team or owner, etc. Hookadoo, coach, I think Bobby should get up a Circle K booth in the Lions sidelines. Hey, I could talk to her about that. I do probably want to talk to the Circle K or Bobby and the K about maybe doing a live broadcast there. I think it'd be hilarious because let me tell you, you do have some jokers that go into that particular K. It'd probably be pretty fun. You guys know that do a couple draft things from a local spirits shop a friend of mine owns, and I'd like to do a couple of broadcasts from some restaurants. I know we did a few last year. We did a couple preseason games, etc. I'd like to try to do more of that, just so if anybody wants to come on out, be a part of the show or watch it, they can do that. Dennis, hey, Southwest Lion 26, go blue, 100%. JDC could care less about the Super Bowl. Gonna watch a paint dry instead. Fair enough. I'm glad you have it. I'm glad you had the day mapped out, man. Southwest Eduardo, 100%. Draft a center, agreed. Center guard, yes. Brother Ken, we need an edge rusher. Get him. Yes, if we need one, which we do, get him. And I'm really hoping Brad Holmes goes after somebody. But again, is he going to be Dollar General Brad, or is he going to be investment Brad? We'll have to find out. Eduardo, Brother Ken, the way that I see it is Brad goes out and says we are going to be aggressive, and teams and players will use that against him. So why reveal? Yeah, there's probably a level of truth to that, Eduardo. All right, Big D, Frank the Tank, baby. Woo! Jonah is first to keep. Yeah, and there could be a potential for there. Man, it would just be a huge investment in that offensive line to keep all of them, and then draft a guard / center. But you know what? Keep your strength strong, and you know what? That offensive line travels everywhere, outdoors, indoors, warm weather, cold weather. They're going to be able to go out there and do their thing, and you know what? That keeps Goff standing up and it keeps the running game sound. So I'm fine with it. Eduardo, you get me? I got you. Yep, I got you. All right, let's see, Eduardo. I have another serious question. Hutch is the best player on this defense. Does Branch have potential to be better than him? Question mark. Do you value a pass rusher or corner? If it's me, I value pass rusher over corner because the faster you can get to the passer, the easier the cornerback's job is. The longer it takes you to get out there and get after the quarterback, man, the harder it's going to be for any corner or secondary personnel to cover somebody. So get to the quarterback first. It cures a lot of ills. All right, Southwest Line, Michigan hiring a Wink Martindale as their defensive coordinator. I think his style meshes well with what Michigan does. Great hire, yeah. And man, always love his name, man. But that also shows my age. So fair enough. All right, Dennis, hell yeah, go blue. Fair enough. All right, JDC Ragdown News makes me as happy as a hog and slop. Fair enough. All right. I'm good reference there. All right, Eduardo. Robert, we only have 3 outdoor games next season. Exclamation point. Need to take advantage of it. Hope the league sends us out to Green Bay or Chicago before November. In 2025, we'll have 8 outdoor games. Yes. And, worry about that in 25. But to your point, Green Bay, Chicago, and I want to say the other one's San Fran. So San Fran, I think we all agree, probably going to be fairly good weather. Green Bay, Chicago really comes down to just the time of the year. Big D, happy isn't the word, over the moon. Rags coming back. Yes, he is. And he gave a lot of indication. It's not probably just for one more year. He's probably back for a couple. Obviously, that can always change from season to season. But, yeah, great news. Silver Surfer, hope Benito Jones still under contract. If no, re-sign him. Fair enough. Yeah, he did. I thought he did fairly well last year, Surfer, so I agree. Michael, howdy, Dan Lions faithful. Happy Friday. Happy Friday to you too. Game day for me, so enjoying it. Glasgow needs to make sure he doesn't get Jamal Williams. That's a great point. Yeah. Don't overextend your demands. Keep them reasonable. Bergs, next season we have 2 outdoor games. We will be fine, but we need all roads to go through Detroit. So, Am I? You guys let me know. Am I incorrect? I thought we had 3 with San Francisco, but maybe I'm messing something up here. So it is early, and I haven't had the morning Mountain Dew, so forgive me. Eduardo, Dan Campbell as Lions coach is 10-0 at home in December, January. That's something I didn't realize. So good catch there, Eduardo. Detroit D, we have home field advantage throughout next year's playoffs. Yes, we get that. That's gonna, man. I don't think anybody listening to the player and coach's comments from Tampa Bay and the Rams, nobody enjoyed playing here. They thought it was a great home field advantage. So to your point, D, and everybody's on it, man, do everything you can to secure all playoff games here in Detroit. Anthony, good morning, Dew Crew. Good morning to you too. Hopefully having a great one. Eduardo, Daniel Hunter is going to hit free agency. He can't get franchised anymore. Hope Chicago is stupid and lets Jalen walk. There you go. Maybe they will. So, Silver Server AG said Stephon Diggs has lockdown corner potential. Lockdown corner potential. We could see him finally on the field. Fair. It's possible. Sure. Fair enough. All right. Is that still you? I always thought Sua is a big guy. Then I saw him at the Pro Bowl games at the weekend, and he looks sleek compared to those boys. Yeah, he's not, I guess you could say, a big boy offensive lineman, but neither is Decker. I guess the only ones that I would say that kind of are the big boy look are, I don't know, man. I guess Vaitai, Glasgow to an extent, and then, Frank Ragnow. Maybe, Jonah Jackson too, but, at least as far as our tackles, they're not the biggest dudes. I mean, they're pretty powerful and slim. All right, Rich, hey coach, can you please explain what a walkthrough is? I hear the term, but unsure what that is. Thanks. So great question there, Rich. So usually Wednesdays and Thursdays, those are your actual practices during the season. You're going to go at it, do a little hitting or whatever have you. Friday, though, they keep the physical play down to a bare minimum. They're just going to walk through plays. Guys are basically out there in the shorts and the top, and that's it. Nobody's really putting hands on each other, or at least, just almost like patty cake, man. You're just, going through the motions. You're not putting any effort or strength behind it, just so you can get dry rehearsals, I guess, on anything you need to clean up on plays, stuff like that. Man, Barrett, thank you. Good morning, and back at you. Hopefully a great one. Silver Server or Broderick, will you flourish on that defensive tackle position? I think you will see more of him next year, Surfer. I think they're going to keep developing him. I mean, we got to see a little bit of peaks of him last year. He had some potential, it looked like, when he was out there, but you could just still see he was so incredibly raw. Stood up a ton on the snap instead of keeping low, keeping his balance, and trying to get leverage on people. So that stuff's where they got to really clean it up. I have to imagine they did some of that last year, and then he had another OTAs, preseason, stuff like that to him. He should be quite a bit improved by next year. One of the things I want to see next year, back-to-back road game wins and consistency in play calling. Too many games we gash teams with run in the first half and stop running the second. Yeah, and that's where they'll have to balance some things out. We talked about it on the show a ton last year. You could see when teams made the in-game adjustments, that's where I think the lack of experience Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn still struggle with. Now, another year of experience for both of them, they should be able to start making those adjustments in game just a little bit faster to help maybe correct some of those things. Big D, that's why Sewell is so good. He can move with the grace of a dolphin. Yeah, he's very agile, very athletic. You can imagine if he would have been developed as a tight end versus an offensive lineman. I mean, he would be out there mauling people, but he would also probably look a little different too. Eduardo, I'd take Jonah and drafting guard center because Jonah is younger. Yeah, he is younger. He had a little bit of injury history this year, but nothing too egregious. Now, you keep him with Glasgow, with Decker, with Panay, and now you add in a strong quality guard with them, and that offensive line could actually potentially be better than last year. Surfer, what do you got? Even with Frank back, we still need a couple O linemen. Keep Osqua, get Evan Brown, Glasgow, and a rookie. Decker and Frank could go out and any play. Yeah, and I see what you're saying. Yeah, keep some depth there, some quality depth there. Evan Brown, I'm really surprised he didn't do better in Seattle. At least his time here in Detroit, he was pretty good. And if you keep all those guys and then, like you say, draft and whatever, now you've got a ton of depth that where if somebody does go down, or if they want to do the old New England Patriots thing where, hey, every drive we're going to give one guy a drive off just to try to help preserve them longer throughout the season, I'm okay with it. And you know what? You'd have the ability to do that because of the talent on the team. Robert G, definitely re-sign Jackson. Keep that core line intact. Yep. And I think it's just going to come down to how much it's going to cost to do so. Eduardo, O-line is already the most expensive part of the team. It is. And if you keep Jonah Jackson, that price tag's going up. It ain't going down. So we'll see what they do, but at least I think there's some potential for it. I can also see where maybe they're going to try to save some costs by maybe not resigning, but I've been wrong before. Annie, what's your thoughts on resigning C. Ridley and not resigning Donovan Peoples-Jones or Reynolds? I think they're just taking a flyer on them, seeing what they've got. Maybe it impacts Donovan Peoples-Jones or Reynolds. I'm inclined to think probably not, especially with Reynolds. But, yeah, you're just testing some guys out, seeing if you can strike some gold or get some real value there. At least that's my anticipation. All right, Eduardo, I really think they need to stay at 29. The pick will be O-line. The premier defenders will have to trade up into the late teens for it. Jackson Powers won't make it past Miami. They need a center. I think you've got a lot of good points there. I do think, though, even though maybe you don't want us to trade that pick, I do think the Lions potentially, if a quarterback, a one of note, falls later in the first round, you're going to have a lot of people probably ringing the Lions' phones trying to trade up to get that pick for one particular reason, just to get that quarterback on a fifth-year option. So we'll have to wait and see when we get close to the draft, but I think there is some potential Detroit could trade out of that. All right, Southwest line, Jared Goff taking a team-friendly deal would set the tone, follow that Tom Brady model. Yeah, and I think if he does that, if they really want other positions to take a bit less, then yeah, have your quarterback out there saying, you know what, I'm going to take 80% of my max, 90%, and everybody sees what he's doing, leading by example. Now you're going to put pressure on everybody else. Maybe Amon-Ra St. Brown or Penei Sewell are the first people to do it and say, you know what, we're going to take less. And now that puts more pressure on everybody else. Hey, we're willing to give up some to help keep this team together. Then, once it starts happening, I don't think it'd be well received if somebody else says, nah, I need the max. I'm going to take it. Sorry for you guys, but I need to take it. That guy probably getting a code red. Silver Surfer, Donovan Peoples-Jones over Reynolds. It's about potential, and Donovan Peoples-Jones has a lot. Again, and he catches the ball. Give him a training camp. Yeah, they need to work him in a little bit more, but we'll see who they keep, which one of those two, or do they keep them both? Big D, yes, Donovan Peoples-Jones over Reynolds, fair enough. Tony, need to beef up that defense first, then offensive line. Yeah, they've got to get another edge out there and maybe another defensive tackle, unless they're really sold on Broderick Martin. Maybe they have eyes on him and visions on him that we are not aware of. All will be revealed in this offseason, though. Bergs, I like Jackson's durability. I like Jackson. Durability is a concern for me, so I'm on the fence. Yeah, I won't fault them if they let him go because of that, Bergs. I also won't be sad if they resign him. But this year, in the contract year, he had, I think, 2 or 3 different times he got a little banged up and hurt, and no fault of his own or anything, obviously. But availability, if you're not available, you're not helping the team. Big D, Goff better take a team-friendly deal. If he gets greedy, he's not the QB for us. Yeah, I think if he was to pull something like that, saying, yeah, I need 50, 55 million a year, I think the fan base would probably turn on him fairly quickly, maybe even the team. All right, Miles, what do you got? Hi, Eduardo. Neil, hope you're looking forward to more easy now. Fair enough. Yep, and hopefully Eduardo is, taking it a little bit more easy. And everybody took that loss differently. Some of us pretty hard. I get it. Eduardo, the 2022 season was fueled on not letting another team control their destiny. Not getting into the dance in 2023 will be fuel on not finishing the job. Agreed. Yeah. I'm hoping it really propels us into the Super Bowl. Pat, what's up, bud? What's up with you? Hopefully you have a great morning. Southwest Line, Goff deserves to be well paid, but he needs to be reasonable about it. Like most quarterbacks, he is only as good as the supporting cast with him. Yeah, I think he's mentioned some stuff about, hey, he's already made a ton of money. His family's set, and there's a lot of truth to that. You imagine if it comes out where he takes something like $30 million a year to stay in Detroit, he's basically taking a reduction over what he got paid this year. I mean, that would set a huge tone, but we'll wait and see when those numbers, new contract comes out and what it's actually signed for. Big D, I think the whole team should restructure their contracts and take a little less, sacrifice a few million. Each player does that. We can win for a long time. Yeah, if you get a team to have a culture like that, where they're all agreeing to take, and I always use the example of 90% of what they could get in free agency, then yeah, it would be a huge thing for us. Sounds like you are. Fair enough. Miles. Eduardo, Houston is the second best pass rusher on the team. If they don't bring him back, I don't know what they are on. Yeah, he is, I would say, and you guys have heard me all season talk about it. I think he's awesome. His one weakness, which obviously the coaches are concerned with, is his lack of ability in the run game defense. So they're going to have to be convinced that they can get him at least to be palatable up there, stopping the run. Because when they constructed this defense this year, it was clear they're saying, you're not going to run on us. You might be able to pass, but we're going to stop the run and at least make you somewhat one-dimensional. What do you got? Hooker has the potential to be Goff or better, and Goff needs to take a team-friendly deal. Yeah, you think? Yeah, I see it in the next one now. Yeah, we'll see. Well, we're all speculating until we see what Goff's new contract is like and when that happens. All right, Southwest, Big D, yes, to keep the gang together, everybody needs to have to take a little bit less than what they might get somewhere else, 100%. And that's also an indication if they're all willing to do that. It means they don't want to leave Detroit. They want to stay here. So I get that part, man. All right, a couple more here, and it's due time for me. Mile marker, I'm wondering if Holmes will ask everyone to take a team-friendly deal. I don't think he'll ask anybody, but I think the expectation is, hey, the more you can help us, the more we can help your teammates, the more we keep the band together. Surfer, do you think we can go up and get a cornerback, Terrell Arnold, in the draft? I guess, Surfer, it just comes down to what are you willing to give up to make that move? Because you're probably having to move up. I'm speculating here, but 10, 15 spots. I mean, that's a lot in the first round. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe even more. I don't know. Just I haven't done enough work on him, but you're probably having to move up at least that amount to go and have a conversation to draft him. So, man, what all do you give up? I'm guessing it'd have to be a first, second, maybe a fourth, something like that. I don't know. I'm speculating. Pat, would you draft a kicker? Yes. The answer is yes. And it would probably be latter rounds, fifth, sixth, seventh, something like that. But to me, you need to address that. You need to stop having the revolving door at kicker like we've had for 3 seasons now. Bergs, 3 outdoor games. Forgot about San Francisco. My bad. No worries, man. I was thinking there was 3, but I wasn't. I was thinking maybe I was wrong. Just not being fully awake or something. Eduardo, Goff is nothing without this offensive line. Green Bay and Chicago have no joke D lines. We need this to be the best in the league. There's a lot of truth to what you just said there, Eduardo. Obviously, we could all see how the Packers and Bears improved on defense and getting after the quarterback. You neutralize their ability to get to the quarterback. You now present yourself a lot better opportunity to win the division. And from the division, now it's just a question of can you get the number 1 seed? So you might be spot on with that. Big D, Southwest Line. Yes, sir. I hope we weed out the greedy players when they say you have to fit the mold to be a Lion. That's a big part of the player's makeup when they do sign or draft unselfish. Agreed. Yeah. And they are clearly going after particular type of people. All right, guys, I'm going to have to wrap it up here so I can go ahead and get ready for work, go get the morning Mountain Dew, all that stuff, and then get ready for coaching later on today. If you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. About 20 subs away from 5,800. Also, if you enjoyed today's video, don't be afraid to hit that thumbs up button. If there's some breaking news later today, I'll get it to you as quick as I can. Otherwise, we'll see you all in the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.